And welcome to the show. This is the PulpMythos guys. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer, and we're going to be discussing America the Motion Picture, the new film over on Netflix. It's animated, and it sort of chronicles the origins of this great country, the United States of America. So, yeah, what did you guys think of the film?
I quite enjoyed its realism and how factual it was, how historically factuate, because it's historically factual and accurate. It was a great take on this great nation.
Yeah, not a lot of people cover the friendship of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and how important it was to the founding of this nation, and I'm glad that was finally touched on.
Not only was it touched on, I think it was explored beautifully, especially by the performance of the great Channing Tatum, or as I call Chate. I believe that's French for chosen one. But yeah, I've been saying it forever. If you haven't seen 22 Jump Street, what are you doing? Should have cleaned up in the Oscars. I call BS, but hey, well, you know how Hollywood can be. But his performance of George Washington here was absolutely fantastic, and I believe it carried the film.
I would not disagree. He did such a great job, and it's such a well-rounded character that they shed some light on how smart he was and how it's not just he wasn't just this general that was molded to be this great leader. He was molded to be a king, and them exploring that aspect of his life was something that I've never seen before.
Yeah, and you rarely see Washington depicted, with his chainsaw, with his wrist-mounted chainsaws. You never see that in any of the depictions of Washington, and it was good to see that in a movie for once.
I also think they took a lot of time, showing us the true villain of that era, and that being, Benedict Arnold and his werewolf ways. We've done a pretty good job in this country. I don't believe I've ever seen a werewolf, so clearly that has been culled in since then. But the way in which that villain did what he did, and almost prevented this great nation from forming. I think it was properly represented in this film.
Well, I think that, we have movies like Werewolf of London and those kind of things that touch on the fact that that's where they come from. But to see them start in, our country in such a way, him nearly turning Geronimo into a werewolf as well. It was crazy to finally find that out. Like, I never knew those things about Benedict Arnold.
And don't forget Werewolf in Paris, Yeah. Them goddamn Europeans, them and the werewolves.
And it's you don't hear about that in history books either. Geronimo's heroic sacrifice of his arm in Vietnam, and not just the depiction of Benedict Arnold, but it's just like after finally seeing a realistic depiction of King George at the time, I'm looking forward to seeing those book reports, from here on out.
I really appreciate also, the role of Thomas Edison was played by Olivia Munn, and it was great to see her come out of 2006 and join us here in the, new year and actually, do something.
I thought the best part of Olivia's performance was showing that, the way that history is portrayed to us is that it's they kind of omit a lot of different aspects of our history. Knowing now that Thomas is a woman's name and that she did such a great job, and how smart she was, and how much she was just like Asami from Korra is really interesting to me. It's something that I never knew.
That's a good point. I didn't see that analog. Maybe Thomas Edison was the inspiration for Asami because the shock the shock gauntlets, the steampunk technology. That's a good point. I didn't make that connection, Spencer.
I also enjoy the fact that the true victors of that war was in fact beer and baseball. This country was founded on beer and baseball, and I mean, beautifully shown in this film.
Yes, the fact that we beer's been around for as long as I've been alive, but to find out that that's the battle between tea and beer was such a vital part to the founding of our nation that it was something that's been glossed over in the history books, that I think focusing on that would give us a much better understanding of our these nation companies of Budweiser and Anheuser-Busch. It would help us so much to understand where the founding of these great companies came from.
And knowing that, oh, sorry, Larry, you have something?
Well, I'm just saying, the only reason I know that, Samuel Adams is our nation's original beer, is because of going to college. They just don't teach you that in grade school. And it's a shame.
We also know now that James Cameron is full of shit because he did not truly tell us the story of the Titanic, because what he left out, probably because I guess he didn't want to upset the British audience, is the fact that the ship itself was used to store this toxic tea that was transforming the pure colonists into, well, Brits. And I'm very appreciative that this film has finally revealed that truth.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally see why, history buffs was so angry about The Patriot, because it didn't show any of this, and I'm really questioning the accuracy of that movie now. Like, great channel, by the way, totally worth checking out. But, it's like, I thought The Patriot was a great movie back in the day, but now I see that it was incredibly inaccurate. And, after watching this wonderful animated documentary.
I would also like to point out the country's song, as I will call it, national anthem. You can call it whatever you want, Freebird by the great Leonard Skinner. The fact that it was played beautifully during that battle, to me, I teared up. I thought it was one of the most powerful moments of the film. And, God bless America, basically.
Never have I heard that song and not cried, but this touched me so much deeper than any other time I had heard it. There's a lot of karaoke bars. There's a lot of places that you can't go anywhere in the South and not hear that song during the summer. However, seeing it reflected in a different way and knowing that Washington wrote that is basically like a battle cry will forever affect how I see that song from here on out. If they do not replace that at our United States sporting events or even the Olympics, if they don't play Freebird from now on, I don't know that I can support those ventures anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I mean, I throw a fit anytime Freebird's not playing, and the fact that you don't cry every time, Brian, I question your patriotism. Like in this moment, like what do you mean you cried? I cry every time I hear Freebird, so that's nothing unusual for me.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know, man. I'm a simple man, and but yes, Larry, that's a fair critique.
It's like, hell, I even enjoy the cover by Leonard Skinner. To be honest, it's an incredible song.
It is. I'm not arguing that. I do agree that it is a beautiful song, and I was just trying to emphasize how the film was able to do it in a way that I just had never seen done before, and I think that's what was touching me so much. But yeah, you're completely right, Larry.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it's rare that you hear it, like as it was originally composed, but yeah, I just love that song.
I also loved the example showing us how evil Big Ben really is. And, every time I see that piece of shit clock, I think to myself, you lost, asshole. And the fact that we got to see that on screen, bravo.
Yeah, because, we were always told that Paul Bunyan and, Babe Blue Ox were fictional kind of like our Aesop fables. They were trying to teach us lessons, but to see how much of an important role they had in our nation's revolution, it kind of frustrates me that as a child, a lot of these things we were led to believe were exaggerations of the truth. Meanwhile, the actual truth was way more grandiose than we were ever told. And seeing it play out the way it was truly does show me how evil the British Empire was.
Like, yeah, you just got to wonder how did they transport that clock back to England? I mean, because it's there now,
Well, perhaps it's just a replica. I'm not really sure, Larry. That's something I'm going to have to do a little research on.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying because the Titanic sunk, and so I have no idea how they would get it back to England.
Also, don't want to make light of the amazing performance by Killer Mike, who is known. He's in a hip hop group known as what is the name of that?
Run
the Jewels.
Jewels, yeah.
Jewels. And he plays a character that is able to forge the silver bullet that is used to defeat the evil Benedict Arnold. Very, very cool. Very much enjoyed that sequence. And yeah, great Killer Mike.
Right?
Yeah.
Killer Mike, who it was revealed in the end was John Henry, the still driving man. That was a surprise for me. I kept wondering, which historical figure am I missing? It turns out he was John Henry the whole time.
Well, and I couldn't think of we think of Mjolnir and Thor's hammer, and you could not find a more worthy person to hold it. So him using what appeared to be Thor's hammer to smith a weapon to kill the evil Benedict Arnold. I don't think it was just a blacksmith's hammer. Because to me, I think they just didn't want to get in trouble with Marvel. So I think the fact that they were using Thor's hammer, the likeness, they wanted us to draw our own conclusions with that. But, very few people are worthy of holding that. And John Henry, and portrayed by Killer Mike, I don't think there was anybody more worthy.
Also want to reiterate, I said it up front, I gotta say it again. Channing Tatum's performance, guys. I mean, wow. Absolutely amazing. And had he not been cast in this role, the movie would have probably been horrible, to be completely honest, because I just don't think it would have had the same soul that it has with his performance. So I had to say that one more time. This is just my opinion, my view. And a quick shout out to the Martha Washington performance. Wow. I thought that was well done as well.
Yes, Judy Greer did a great job as Martha. The fact that she didn't only play the American colonized version of Martha Washington, she also had a character change when she was dipped in what did you refer to as a toxic tea or whatever it was?
Yeah, that's not said in the film. That's just sort of the term that I came up with. Correct.
Yeah, that's her being exposed to this toxic tea and becoming British. That was for her to portray multiple characters within the same film. It to me, it added depth to her performance.
Yeah, you get, like you said, you get the American, the pure American version, and then the sort of, shitty British version of the character. And I think she definitely handled both very well.
Yeah, it was a very, very diverse performance. It, it definitely went places, playing two very different versions of the same character.
Well, gentlemen, I don't have a whole lot left to say regarding this amazing film. Is there anything you would like to share before we wrap up this review of America the Motion Picture on Netflix?
We talked about Sam Adams, the person, but throughout this movie, it kind of showed the beginnings of college fraternities, and seeing that shown in that light shows me the kind of people that are all about fraternities, and seeing them portrayed in such a way lets me know the depth of fraternity brothers and what lengths they're willing to go through to be there for one another.
Yeah, absolutely. It's few people know the importance of college fraternities and founding this great nation. And I just like to end on that, and with the fact that, as always, whenever we reference anything, I have not seen the movie that we've referenced like 3 times in this review, 22 Jump Street. Never seen it.
I mean, Larry, we will have to rectify that, because, I mean, look, 21 Jump Street, I mean, that's 10 out of 10 material, but 22 Jump Street, I would have to say that there isn't a scale big enough to fit how good that movie is. Amazing film. Hopefully we get a 23 and maybe even a 24 Jump Street at some point. But I would like to end this by saying, if anybody, if you've not seen this film yet and you're just watching this review, please do yourself a favor and watch this movie. It is an absolute masterpiece. It is a great explanation to the founding of our country. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, and if you've not subscribed, please subscribe. So, anything else, gentlemen?
I believe that is all.
That's it for me.
All right. Well, thank you, and we will see y'all next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.